So you've had an ego degradation and now you don't know how to get your life back to what it was. You don't gel with people the way that you used to. You don't see things the way that you used to. You don't want the same things as you used to, and you feel guilty for it. This is what I call having a hard time with linking the 5D with the 3D. And in this video, I'm going to give you some things that you can do to help you move forward and make your 5D sensations link with your 3D perceived reality. This was a requested video by one of you. If you have any topics that you would like me to discuss, please leave me a comment down below and I will create content for you. And also, please don't forget to hit those like and subscribe buttons if this video resonates with you. First things first, figure out what you want now. And wishing I want things to go back to the way they were is not a viable request. For one, do you really wish that things could go back to the way you were before you recognize the magnificence of the universe? Do you really want to go back to sleep and pretend that you're complacent with your life? If everything was so perfect how it was, you wouldn't have gone through an ego degradation in the first place. Would you have? So I guess first things first should really be acceptance. You've gone through an ego degradation. It happened, and there's nothing that you can do about it. So you just have to accept it. And now you can figure out what you want. So in this step, I'm not asking you to figure out what you want logistically. I'm asking you to figure out what will create the most mental peace for you. Then the logistics can come after. So do you want to keep working the same job you've had? Or maybe your job is what helped throw you into an ego degradation. Do you want to be alone for a while and not have to take care of anyone? Do you want to go on a silent meditation retreat and not speak for a month? Do you want to go into therapy and work on some habits that during your ego degradation you saw that you possess? Whatever it is that you want, it's correct. So let me repeat that. It is correct. You've just had this beautiful thing happen to you. You've seen the falsity of the ego's perceived reality. And you've now figured out what you want. But here comes the guilt. Guilt that you're not the same as you were and everyone is trying to remind you of it. Guilt that you want to be alone, but you feel bad telling your husband to watch the kids yet again. Guilt that you don't find pleasure in the same things that you used to and no one understands you anymore. Guilt that you don't care about the egoic stuff your partner or friends or family complain to you about. Guilt that you just took X amount of time to gather yourself while you were going through a seeming breakdown. And now it seems that everywhere you turn, you're feeling guilty about something. Well, stop it. I know that sounds ridiculous and invalidating and easier said than done, but seriously, just stop it. What do you have to feel guilty about? If we go through this list again, let's change our perspective a bit and look at it from a different way. So you feel guilty that you're not the same as you were before, and everyone is reminding you of it. You instead grew, learned, and expanded, and other people's egos are upset that you're no longer meeting their expectations. You feel guilty that you want to be alone, but you have to ask your partner to watch the kids again. How many times have you taken care of the family while your partner did what they needed to do? It's not a one-way street. It's a two-parent situation in which your guilt is technically micromanaging and not being able to properly delegate. Look at it as a job, which it technically is. So would you feel badly if you asked someone at work to do their work while you're out with the flu? Next, you feel guilty because you don't find pleasure in the same things that you used to. If your child loves soccer and then next year didn't want anything to do with it, but instead wanted to do gymnastics, should they feel guilty? No. So why should you? You're allowed to change your mind about things without guilt. Otherwise, every emotion and thought that came into your head would make you feel guilty because it's literally a change in mind. You feel guilty because you no longer care about the egoic stuff everyone cares about. Well, this was the entire point of your ego degradation in the first place. So I would look at this as a giant win, not something to feel guilty about. And lastly, you feel guilty that you took X amount of time for yourself while you were going through your ego degradation? Well, you didn't really have a choice in that matter, did you? Change your perspective. Give yourself a break. Validate your feelings and move on. Don't allow the ego to create trauma responses because it wants to control again. You're in control. You literally just won a war against your ego. Why would you win the war just to hand over the keys to the kingdom? Listen, I know how hard it is to not judge yourself about what you're feeling or not feeling. It's really easy to let the ego take the reins again and lead the way, especially because you probably have lost a huge sense of false self and you don't know what tools you're working with currently. But that's the main point that I want to make. Give yourself a break. You gotta get out of the dualistic mindset of right and wrong, good and bad. Who your personality is now is new to you, but you'll get to know it in time. Stop pushing yourself to get through faster or be stronger or be tougher or not be so weak or whatever other judgmental self-criticisms you're throwing at yourself. You will move through when you're ready to move through. You will gain strength when your ego sees that it's safe enough to be strong. But not too strong, of course, or we're doing the opposite of what we ultimately want. Your personality right now is like a child's. It's learning new things, creating itself, and getting reprogrammed. Except this time, you have control of the outcome. You have control of the triggers. You have control of the values and attachments. Do you want to start off your new ego with programming of guilt and shame? Or do you want to start it off with understanding and self-validation? The more you fight against the after effects of your ego degradation, the harder it will become for you, and you'll have to go through it again and again. The more gentle and honest you are with yourself, the more you will link the 5D to the 3D, because the body and ego will be physically living what the higher self just showed you. You made it through. You've seen that you are all, the universe manifested in physical form. Now live that remembrance and you'll have no choice but to link up naturally. Until next week, all of my best and highest vibrations to you.